The book of... Oh, Fox's Book of Martyrs. Fox's Book of Martyrs. There's also, is it called de Nobinier's History of the Reformation? I don't think I'm pronouncing his name. Daubigny. I'm not pronouncing it. They're too good. There are other ones. There's the Martyr's Mirror. I'm not suggesting that you spend time having to read it, but what I am saying is that if you read those books and you see the heartlessness of God's enemies, and that's what's going to happen. You know, when the Holy Spirit's been withdrawn from the world, you will be amazed, shocked what a human being is capable of doing. It's frightening. You see glimpses of it, you know, in wars, in genocide, but they pale into insignificance when we realise what's going to happen soon upon this earth. It's far safer to stay on the right side of God. People are going to get killed, even if you're not against what they're saying. There's going to be carnage everywhere. But it's better to remain faithful and take your chances with God than not.
The list of your 4-way marks, can you explain please how Rehoboam is representative of Adventism?
Because when God had his people, the 12 tribes, as a punishment to Solomon, he rent the kingdom. So on one level it looks like a punishment upon God's people, but whatever God does, it's always for his children's good. And what he wanted to do was strip away the dross. So this is a refining process. Adventism has been chosen, selected. He's taken his people from the world and brought them to him very close. So in this story, from going from the 12 to the 1, I know Benjamin is there with Judah, but you see these 10 tribes, this confederacy, who are now going to come and war against God's people. You can see that it's typifying the story at the end of the world, where the number 10, the confederacy, the 10 kings, are going to make war against God's people. So you can see that Rehoboam, who is the king of Judah, stroke Benjamin, are representing God's people. It's not so much dealing with his righteousness, whether or not he was a good king or a bad king. He's the leader who represents God's people. And God's people at the end of the world are Adventists. Period, exclusively. He has people in Babylon. You know, 18 verse 4 says, "Come out of her, my people." But modern Israel, spiritual Israel, are defined as Adventists. And so it was with Judah. So that's why I'm saying that Rehoboam, we can take this truth that he's now selected his people from all the tribes. Is there a question, written question? Can I go through the commencing dates again? Can I go through the commencing dates again? So let me just go through my notes again. I'm not sure.
Is that the angel gave William Miller the following day?
It is that, but I'm not sure what the question's specifically referring to. I'll give you the two references again. It was Early Writings 229.1 to 231.1. The second one was the Advent Review and Sabbath Herald, April 18th, 1854. And I'm not going to read the whole passage from Early Writings. I'm only going to take a small portion out. It says, "God sent his angel to move upon the heart of a farmer who had not believed the Bible, to lead him to search the prophecies. Angels of God repeatedly visited that chosen one to guide his mind and open to his understanding prophecies which had ever been dark to God's people. The commencement of the chain of truth was given to him. So when it says here the commencement of the chain of truth, it's not referring to the chain of truth in all the detail that I went through, right from Genesis. So I mentioned Edom, the flood, Exodus. She doesn't mean it in that sense, but she is picking up that there's the commencement of the chain of truth that was given to him. And the chain of truth that he was specifically dealing with is, how do you get to the end of the world when you're dealing with this issue of Daniel chapter 8 and other prophecies that are akin to it. And holy angels gave him the commencement of the chain of truth. And then in his own memoirs, which is recorded here, it says, from a further study of the scriptures, I concluded that the 7 times of Gentile supremacy, so the Gentile supremacy is the 25-20, okay? And we could actually overlay the 25-20 over all of this information, but I'm not going to do that today. But we could overlay the 25-20 here and see a connection again between all of these kings and tie them into this 25-20, this Gentile supremacy. So the Gentile supremacy is the scattering or the punishment of God's people because of their sins. And the primary sin that they were doing were they were rejecting or not keeping the 7th yearly Sabbaths of the land. And they'd broken the covenant with God. So they were basically breaking Sabbath, but not the 7th day cycle Sabbath. It was the 7 yearly cycle Sabbath. They'd broken that, and that had triggered the 25-20 to be brought upon God's people. There are 2 punishments that come upon God's people, 2 25-20s, interestingly enough. And as I think about it, let's see if I can find a passage. If we go to, let me just check it is. I think Isaiah 40. I think it's Isaiah 40. Isaiah 40, yeah. It reads, comfort ye, my people, saith your God. You'll notice here in verse 1 it says, comfort ye. It's repeating this statement twice. Comfort ye. So if you go back to Revelation, don't turn there, Revelation 14 verse 8 and Revelation 18 verse 2, you'll see in the phraseology in both those verses it says, Babylon is fallen. You see this phrase brought up twice, this little, is fallen. When you run through the scriptures and you see it often enough, you begin to see this pattern that when you see a statement made twice, like is fallen, and that particular statement is connected directly, obviously, to the second angel's message, you can see that it's inferring that there's a second angel's message that's being alluded to in this passage. So it says, comfort ye, my people. So there's some connection here to do with the second angel's message, whatever that might be. I wasn't going into that. But verse 2 says, speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned, for she hath received of the Lord's hand double for all her sins. So you know that she's going to receive double punishment because of the sins that she's doing. And this is an allusion to, it's referring to this 25-20 punishment, which is double to them. They don't just get one, they get two. The 25-20 is double to them. And this is consistent with how God deals with his people. And the interesting thing about that, the 25-20, is because if you read the rest of the verse, of the chapter, you'll see who this rest of the passage is connected to. It's talking about Elijah, or the work of John the Baptist, or the work of God's people at the end of the world. So it's tying in the ministry of John the Baptist and Christ, which was this history here at the end of the 490, which is connected to 2300 days. It ties this history right back to this 25-20 history, which was double to them. So he found out that the 7 times of Gentile supremacy, which was these two 25-20s that were brought upon God's people, they were punished double for their sins, commenced in the year 677 BC. In the year 677 BC. So I don't know if who asked that question, if there's any more issue that they comment that they wanted to make upon them. So I'm not sure what exactly you want me to say about that. Then it says that the 2300 days commence with the 70 weeks, which is this right here, and he found that this was 457 BC. So this is 457 BC for the 2300 days, and he said it's 677 for the 25-20, which would take you to 1843, which should be 1844. And then he said, and the 1335 days commencing with the taking away of the daily and the setting up of the abomination that maketh desolate. So this is dealing with this 1335 that begins in 508, and we know that that's 538, and that's 30 years, and we have 1260, which takes us again to 1843. So this is 1290. This is the 1290 time prophecy.
No, the 1290 is from 508 to the 1790.
Oh.
Still 1260.
Is that better?
1260 is from 538.
Yeah, so we've got the 1260 there. So he was given this commencement date, this one, and this one. And all three prophecies take you to 1843, which is obviously 44. And they all show different components. So this tells you about the setting up of the papal church from 508 going to 538, its demise in 1798, and you get to 1843. The 25-20 talks about the captivity of God's people from 677 to 1843, and this talks about after 2300 days you get the cleansing of the sanctuary with this 490 years of probationary time. So whoever wrote this had 503, but it's actually 508. I don't know if I made a typo when I wrote that out, but make sure you have 508 in your notes. I think that's all I can say, if there's anything, because I don't know if there's anything more to the question. Any other questions?
Yeah. According to Revelation 18, verse says, "And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. And he cried with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become habitation of devil, and the hold of every false spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird." It is said that this angel in Revelation 81 represents the first angel message, but it is the same angel that cried, Babylon, Babylon is fallen. How can we link that the first angel message crying that Babylon, Babylon is fallen?
So the question is, if you turn to Revelation 18, verses 1, 2 and 3, but specifically verses 1 and 2, it seems to indicate, well, let's read the passage first. We won't read Revelation 14, but if you go to Revelation 14, it says from verse 6, another angel. Then from verse 8 it says another angel, and in verse 9 it says another angel. So in Revelation 14 you have three angels. There's another angel, another angel, another angel. Three separate angels with three separate messages. But when you read Revelation 18, it says, "And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory." And then verse 2 it says, "And he cried." So verse 1 says another angel, and verse 2 says he. So when it uses the pronoun he, if you want to know who the he is, you go to the preceding information until you find wherever it's referring to. So this he here is obviously referring to this angel here. So this angel and the he are the same angel. And in fact, if you go to verse 3, it's just a continuation of what he's saying. He says, "Because all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication." And if you drop down to verse 4, it says, "Another voice." It says, "Another voice. And I heard another voice from heaven." So this is Revelation 18. And Revelation 14, verse 6 says, "Another angel." Verse 8 says, "Another angel." And verse 9 says, "Another angel." So you have 1, 2, 3 separate and distinct angels. But in Revelation 18, you've only got two separate or distinct angels. So the question is, as far as I understand it, the person who says this, which is the words of the second angel, and this can be identified as the first angel, is how can the first angel and the second angel, how can the first angel be saying the words of the second angel? Because it's not the same as Revelation 14. So the answer is yes. This first angel that comes down, when he comes down, he says the words that the second angel speaks. This is just one angel. So in Revelation 18 there are only two angels. There's 1 and 2, but it still follows the same sequence of Revelation 14, that you have the first angel, the second, and the third angel. You have all three. But in Revelation 18, they're actually the same angel. And because they're the same angel, when he comes down, he speaks straight away. So in Revelation 14, we lay 1, 2, and 3, and we have specific dates for this. I'll put the empowerment down for this. So this is 1840, 1844, and 1844. and this is October, and this is April. But in our time, what we'll find is that here, that you get the first angel and the second angel arriving at the same time, and then you get the third angel. This is the Sunday law, and this is 9/11. So without going into sort of a bit of a detailed study about how you get from here to here, which we won't have time to do today, but that's what the verses teach us, and that's what history is teaching us, and it does fit, and I think that's the answer to that question.
I can see where, I mean, you just said you haven't got time to go into it, and maybe you haven't, but I can see where the angel of Revelation 18 is reflecting the second and third angel's messages of Revelation 14, but I can't see the first angel's message in Revelation 18. Because is that what you're saying? That basically the two angels of Revelation 18 are, repeating the messages of Revelation 14, the three angels of Revelation 14.
So
I can't see the first angel's message.
I don't know if I think I did mention. Yeah, I think I did mention this last time I came in the Q&A. So I'll just go through it quickly. But I think last time I actually went through some verses, but I won't go through the verses now. I'll just explain it to show the logic of it. The angel of Revelation 10 is the first angel's message. Both Uriah Smith and Spirit of Prophecy agree with that. And the angel of Revelation 10 comes down in 1840, just there. And when he comes down, he's got a little book. Now, the angel of Revelation 18, verse 1, is also the first angel's message. And the way that we can tie these two angels together is that for this angel here, Ellen White says that he lightened the earth with his glory. She makes a statement about that. I'd have to dig out the passage for it. But we also know that in Revelation 18 verse 1, it actually says that in the verse, that he lightened the earth with his glory. So we can connect Revelation 18 verse 1, the angel of Revelation 10, by this concept that the earth is lightened with his glory. So that's how we can show that to be the case. So does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to add another layer on top of that. So we know that if I did a line here of the 7 churches, this is the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and 7th church. And the 7th church is Laodicea. So we're the Laodicean church. Now, this is Philadelphia, and this is Thyatira. So Thyatira is in the history of 538 to 1798. This is the Dark Ages, or this persecution time that we've mentioned over there. This is the Church of Brotherly Love, and now we're in Laodicea, the lukewarm church. So our church came into existence in 1850, and we've been in Laodicea. But in this story of Laodicea, we're going to go through the experience of all these other churches. So you can see that when we first came into existence, we were, right at the beginning, typifying or fulfilling the history that had occurred in this time period here, the first church of Ephesus. So you can lay up all these histories and bring them into ours. So the one that we're interested in, just as an example, is this history here of Thyatira. So in Thyatira, which was the Dark Ages, in 538, what marks the beginning of this? The thing that marks the beginning of this is when the papacy takes 3 horns of Daniel 7. Is that familiar history? Okay, so if it's not, all I'm saying then simply is, the thing that marks 538 is that the papacy becomes the king. He becomes the king of, we'll just say Europe, of the known world in that time period, the modern world. So he becomes king. When he becomes king, ultimate ruler, he's going to rule for how long he's prophesied to rule for. And then he's going to be brought down. And this history is going to be repeated in our day and age. So if I just make our one a bit longer, in our church here where we've got 7, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to have all these histories repeated in our history as well. And I'm not saying they happen exactly sequentially, but at the end here, from the National Sunday Law to the end, Michael standing up, okay, this is going to be a time of trouble that was really bad, and he's typifying here. So this time period here and this is the same time period. This is the day of the Lord. Does that make sense? From the National Sunday Law, the thing that marks the National Sunday Law is that the papacy becomes king of the world again. He's going to rule the world supremely. And when he rules the world supremely, his attention is going to be turned to God's people. He's going to put his focus upon us, and he's going to start making war against God's people. And this is going to be marking the Dark Ages. This is the day of the Lord's vengeance that Joel speaks about, the day of trouble. So this is the day of the Lord where the papacy is going to start making war against God's people, and he can only do that when he becomes the king. He can't do it at the moment because he's not ruling. And he couldn't do it before this time period because he rules here, then he becomes king here, and then he rules and punishes. He becomes king and then punishes. Does that make sense? Yeah? How does he become king? He gets an army. He gets an army, and the army places him upon the throne. It says, Daniel 11, I think, is it 24? No. It says, arms shall stand on his part. Is it verse 24 or 6? Someone's going to find it for us anyway. We'll see the verse in a minute. But there's some armies or some state or some government that are going to place him there. And he's not quite there yet. He's well on his way, but he's not fully there yet. Okay, when he is, then you'll feel his wrath. So he's not quite there yet.
It's 31.
31, yeah, it was 31. So it says arms are going to stand on his part. So they're going to place him upon this throne of the world. So he's not quite there yet. We'll say the United Nations. Right, yeah, we'll go with the UN. They're going to place him there. So he was set as the king here. We say the king of Europe. He ruled supremely, and he punished God's people. He's going to repeat that history again here. So can we see the logic of that? If that's correct, then this church here, Thyatira, is going to be repeated here. Yeah? Because that was Thyatira. This will be Thyatira. So this is Thyatira in the time period of Laodicea. So God's people are going to experience what it felt like to be in the time period of Thyatira. And this is the day of the Lord, because this is the 7th day, the Lord's day. We said this before. What happens before the Lord's day? We're in the preparation day, so we're in the 6th day. So that's the 7th day, so we're in the 6th day here. So what is the church before Thyatira? It's Pergamos. Okay? So this is the church of compromise. You just need to open the church magazines and you'll see that this is the church of compromise. because we're compromising everywhere. So here you're going to have the church of Pergamos, which is before Thyatira. And why does the punishment happen to God's people? This is the effect, and this is the cause. If you compromise, God's going to punish you. If you compromise, God's going to punish you. So if we won't turn there, but if you go to the church of Pergamos, God says to those who overcome, who are faithful, he's going to give them a new name. I think it's a stone with a new name in it. And he says they're going to eat of the hidden manna. They're going to eat some hidden manna. Okay? So when we went back to here, Revelation 10, first angel's message, 1840, there's a little book which you can read about and you can see. And he gives it to John. And what's John required to do? To eat it. Okay? So the manna is the bread of life. It's the bread of God. Let's turn to Revelation chapter 2. I think it's verse 17. I think it's verse 17. Just to read that. So this is talking about Pergamos. We're right here in the history of Pergamos. So that we know, I'm dating Pergamos from 9/11 to the Sunday law. That's Pergamos. That's what I'm marking Pergamos as. There's reasons for that. But it says, he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the hidden manna. So I'll just stop there. So these people who are overcoming are going to be eating hidden manna. So what is manna? Manna is the bread of heaven. And it's not literal bread. It's the word of God. So they're going to be eating the word of God. Can everybody see it? No. Because it specifically says it's hidden. It's a hidden word. It's a hidden message. So when we go to Revelation 18 verse 1, who comes down at 9/11, he has a message, but you can't read it in verse 1 because it's hidden. And the only people who can know what that message is are those people who are eating the hidden message or the little book or the message of the latter rain. They can understand who this angel is. They can understand what his message is and what he's telling God's people to do. But everybody else can't see anything. So that's why when you say that you read it, you say, I can see him saying something, because I read it in verse 6 of Revelation 14, but when he comes I can't see anything. And the reason you can't see it because you can't see it on the surface. So I'm not saying this disrespectfully, but if you're a surface reader, there's nothing to see. You have to dig deep because it's hidden from view. And so I'm saying it's not guesswork that I'm saying that. You can lay it out and you can show that we're in the history of Pergamos, and you can see in the history of Pergamos lots of things are happening, but one of them is that you're going to receive hidden manna, and that's food from the word of God that no one else can see. So you can't see it here. So when people read that and you say, oh, there's some beautiful words of truth and life, and it says the earth was lightened with his glory. Someone asked me recently when I pointed out, they said, I haven't seen any earth lightened with any glory recently. Because when we read Revelation 18 verse 1, we think, I don't actually know what we think, but I think what we think is that the whole of the UK is going to have this buzz of excitement. And everybody's going to be excited that the first angel has come down, and everybody's going to say, oh look, there's this great emotional thing that's happening. Spiritualism. But that's not what it's referring to. It's talking about God's people are going to be receiving great light. And then we think, well, I can't see anybody in the church en masse being excited. And you can't, because it's hidden manna. We're expecting to see an experience that happened in 1840, where it says there were thousands of people who were converted by that truth. And it was a great reformatory movement, a great reformation occurred because of that event. And we're expecting to see the same thing again, but we're not. There's some dynamic differences between that history. In that history, what was God doing from 1798 to 1844? He was building a temple. He needs to get people into that temple, so into the church. He needs to construct something. What's he doing now? The sinners in Zion are being sifted out. Revelation 12 the last verse, is it verse 17, says only a remnant. It's the remnant of the sea. Did it say that?
The remnant of the sea.
Yeah, the remnant of the... I'll just read it. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. There's only going to be a remnant. There's only a few amount of people. God's going to get 18 million people, and the sinners in Zion are going to be sifted out. So this isn't a message for everybody. This is the message. This is the test. Because if you don't drink water in the correct way, you're going to be sent back home. Yeah, you're going to be sent back home. It's all about how you eat and drink. So this is only for the wise. Only the wise will be able to see this. No one else is doing it. No one else can do it. 18 million people are too many people. If 18 million people converted this world, who would take the glory? You know what the story says in the story of Gideon. Who would take the glory? Man would. So God said, you've got too many. I need a lot fewer. So he's going to strip all those people out. And the way he does it is by forcing you. If you want to be part of his remnant people, you have to struggle and wrestle with the word of God. Ellen White says you have to strain every fibre of your mind. It's not easy. You have to put some effort into it. If you're doing some exams at school or you're doing a degree, it's difficult. If you're at work and you've got some course you're doing, you have to put some time, energy and effort into it. But we don't want to do that at God's people. We think we don't have to because we've been taught we don't have to. Because we've got a watered down understanding of what the gospel is. That Christ saves you as you are.
That's it.
And you stay that way. Yes, well said. You stay that way. But that's not what the everlasting gospel is. The everlasting gospel, if you want to go with the parable of the 10 virgins, half the people get lost when the everlasting gospel comes, and half of them fail. It's not a gospel of some kind of peace and safety that everybody's going to make it. So that's why you can't see it. It's only for the wise to see. To be wise, you have to make some effort. Any other questions?
In the history, it says that the three-step process, number 1, number 2, number 3, and you locate them with individuals in various history. Can you choose any person and locate them to number 1, number 2, number 3, or there's a way to do it?
When I went through earlier on, when I read, no, there would be a specific way on each one. Yeah. You'd locate them as specifically in their place. It's been a long day. Let's pray.